Should you play Star Wars Outlaws? Described as an open-world single-player action-adventure game, Star Wars Outlaws is set in the year gap between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which follows the Battle of Hoth at a time when the Galactic Empire rules the galaxy with an iron fist. You'll be playing as Kay, a skilled thief and emerging outlaw looking to secure her freedom in this oppressive universe. And while Imperial rule consumes the galaxy, the underworld thrives as large criminal syndicates rise to power. After a job gone wrong, Kay finds herself with a bounty on her head and must work with and against these crime syndicates to pull off one of the greatest heists the galaxy has ever seen. Kay doesn't have to go this alone though, as she is always accompanied by her best bud Nix to watch her back. One of the first things that really grabbed me about this game is the unique setting, which is basically a more gritty take on the Star Wars universe experienced through the eyes of a scoundrel rather than a Jedi. Instead of relying on your lightsaber and force powers to crush everything in your path, you'll be relying on your wit and your blaster. Instead of mind controlling the guards, you might have to sneak by or talk your way in. This creates a unique and almost a more realistic, if you will, experience of the Star Wars universe where you're just another human looking to make your way in the galaxy, and you're doing it at a time when the ruling forces are inherently evil. Since the laws you are breaking are that of the Galactic Empire ruled by the dark side, being an outlaw kinda makes you the good guy. If you've ever seen Solo, the movie about Han Solo's origin story, the vibes are very similar. If Han Solo and Trinity from The Matrix had a baby, that would essentially result in the hero we are playing, who is Kay, a badass thief with maybe a hint of emerging force powers, as she can occasionally slow everything around her to activate bullet time. This unique setting really helps bring to life the open world design of the game, which really did make me feel immersed in the Star Wars universe for the 4 hours that I got to play. Early on, you'll find yourself on Toshara, a new Savannah moon exclusive to this game, with access to a speeder to explore on. Once you ride to Miragana City and meet some of the members of the different syndicates, the world starts to really open up. Bet on the races, get some food, or play a few hands of sabacc. I dominated, by the way. You'll encounter a vast range of opportunities throughout the game, but there are 3 types of quests worth highlighting that are core to the gameplay loop: primary quests, syndicate quests, and experts intel. Primary quests will progress the main story and move Kay and Nix closer to the freedom they are searching for. Syndicate quests are jobs offered by the various members of the different syndicate gangs, and are central to the reputation system, which is a core mechanic in Star Wars Outlaws. Across the galaxy, you live and die by your reputation, with the choices you make impacting your relationship with the different syndicate gangs. Kay will have to make decisions about who to align with, at least temporarily, and try to play the syndicates against each other for her own benefit. Reputation will directly impact your experience with the various syndicates, with a good reputation leading to things such as syndicate territory access, lucrative jobs, and vendor discounts, and a bad reputation leading to things such as Kay being hunted down by syndicate assassins. Something that increases your reputation with one syndicate may decrease it with another, so it may take some serious negotiating and finesse to navigate your way into their good graces, and even more to stay there. In the version I was playing, there was 4 syndicate factions, which were the Pike Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn, the Hutt Cartel, and the Ashiga Clan. The final type of quests are intel on experts, and this is essentially what Kay needs to follow in order to improve her skills and upgrade her gear. Keep an eye out for intel that will lead you to these experts, find them, and then follow their instructions to unlock new upgrades and powers. Something that this open world design intends to present to the player is choices. This means if you need to get some secret intel from inside a Crimson Dawn facility, you essentially can decide how you want to go about it. Maybe if you complete some jobs for the Crimson Dawn, you'll develop a good enough reputation to just walk right in. Or maybe you should try to sneak past everyone and steal it without getting caught. Or maybe you just kick the door in and blast anyone who stands in your way. It seems like most quests have several different approaches you can use to complete them, depending on your preference or playstyle. And remember that these choices will impact your reputation with the various syndicates, which may influence how future missions play out. This supposedly makes your choices matter and the consequences real, which further deepens the immersion into the world of Star Wars Outlaws. Now let's take a look at the actual gameplay. This is essentially a third-person shooter with a big emphasis on stealth, environment, and roleplay. Completing missions will be some combination of sneaking, talking, and shooting, and if you prefer any of these methods over the others, the game seems to accommodate leaning more into any one of these playstyles. The stealth mechanics will feel familiar and not overly complicated, and having Nix as a buddy really opens up some cool utility and interactions with the environment, especially while sneaking around. In some of the main storyline missions, getting caught will fail the mission, but it seems like in general getting caught will result in a firefight with guards sounding the alarms, which you can try to fight towards and disable or run away from and reset. It seems like utilizing your environment and cover effectively is a big part of both stealth and combat in this game. There are a lot of intentional things placed in the environment that you or Nix can interact with, and there's even a button to quick scan for these objects. I quickly realized how important it was to find good cover to hide behind, which is obviously important for sneaking, but is equally important in combat. It turns out blasters hurt pretty bad without a lightsaber to deflect them, so finding and moving between cover to shoot from is actually a big part of the gunplay that I found really enjoyable. Because of the open world design, there are all kinds of objects for Kate to hide behind or use to her advantage, encouraging creativity and quick thinking in both combat and stealth situations. As far as the gunplay goes, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked my dinky blaster. While there seem to be other types of weapons you can temporarily pick up from enemies, Kay's blaster will always be at your side. It features several different firing modes with many more upgrades to unlock, and so the first three I got to experience were the primary plasma fire for damage, the one-shot stun gun which is great for knocking people out especially during stealth missions, and the ion pulse upgrade to disable shields or overload droids. The primary fire for damage is plasma, which has unlimited ammo and uses a heat mechanic instead of rounds, where reloading basically cools it off and there's a sweet spot to increase the speed. While the gameplay seems to encourage stealth and subterfuge, I wanted to try full-blown combat to see how it feels and if it's a viable approach to missions, since this is usually my preferred playstyle. So instead of sneaking into a syndicate base for intel on a mission, I decided to blast my way in through the front. This resulted in basically an all-out war with the syndicate guard, which was surprisingly more challenging than I expected. Once they sounded the alarm, wave after wave of bad guys will come to reinforce, and so you can either try to run away and let the threat level reset, or push your way in towards the alarm, disable it, and then take out any remaining before they can sound the alarm again. Tactically working my way up the side of the base utilizing cover, various blaster modes, grenades, enemy guns, exploding barrels, and bullet time provided a much deeper combat experience than I was honestly expecting. And keep in mind this is very early on in the gameplay where I don't have much health or many upgrades, mostly just the starting tools at my disposal, so I do expect the missions and the combat to scale in both epicness and difficulty as the game continues to progress. Now, some things that caught my attention and are worth bringing up for the average gamer here, there's going to be a good bit of wandering and looking around in this game. And that's basically because where you need to go for your objective is not super clear, and that seems actually intentional as part of this open world design. Since there are literally several paths you can take to complete the same mission, the objective marker for that mission will be located vaguely where you should start, but it's not going to tell you exactly where to go. This leads to a good bit of wandering and looking around to find the best way in or the right approach, which can be a bit frustrating, especially for players not expecting it, but can also be more immersive for players who are. This wandering can often lead to opportunity as exploration is encouraged in this game, and so maybe while looking for the side ventilation entrance, you stumble upon some secret info about the next race being rigged that you can bet on, or maybe you overhear a conversation that leads you to a completely unrelated quest that's more interesting because you can upgrade your speeder. Or maybe it is related and will increase your reputation with that syndicate so you don't have to sneak in the first place. My point is that you should be prepared to find your own way and not be constantly led by a pinpoint accurate objective marker. The game also has a strong design focus around stealth and subterfuge sort of built into it, and while it seems like you can blast your way through a lot of stuff, there definitely seem to be some situations where stealth is required. Be prepared for several stealth minigames like lockpicking and splicing as you work your way through. Not only will you find shooting everything in your way to be more challenging, you'll also be hurting your reputation with any syndicate members you take out along the way, which may further increase the difficulty of future missions. But hey, you're the outlaw, and more bad guys might be exactly what you're looking for. So if guns blazing is your preferred approach, the game seems to accommodate that fantasy surprisingly well for it not being the primary focus. That's probably how I'm going to be playing it when it comes out in a month, and as I discover more in the full release, I'll hopefully get to bring you guys a few more videos on this potentially awesome game. Oh yeah, there's also space stuff that happens, because you know, Star Wars. I didn't get to do much of this, but here's a bit of footage of that as well.